Okay, good morning, everybody. I will introduce myself again. My name is Innocent Aqua. I am the chair of this health committee, the Community Emergency and Public Health Committee of MIAAC International Affairs Advisory Commission. And we scheduled this meeting today from our first meeting that held on February the 9th. And I was expecting to see a little better attendance than we have here. We're not that many though, we just, I think 5 members in this group. So I want to start out by thanking every one of you that has made it here, that has answered the call to attend this meeting. I'm expecting Dr. Rashid maybe joining in. She is the co-chair. We're co-chairing this group. And I sent her an email to this morning, which I've not received. I hope she has sent the invitation. But we had laid out the days of the meeting for the entire year. So I expect every member will have that available, though when we get close, we'll be sending the reminders. Without wasting so much time, we have 2 hours for this meeting, 10 to 12. So we'll go straight into the agenda. I would let everybody contribute to this. Don't be held back because you think you are not a committee member. Every contribution counts. So, and I want to appreciate that up front. We'll start by looking at the agenda, and I will ask for if we need to adjust anything in the agenda, please you bring those suggestions now before we continue. Thank you for posting that for me.
Do we need to do introductions for everybody else, Mr. Aqua?
Yes, please, maybe after we look at the agenda and approve it, then we'll go straight into the introductions.
Looks good to me.
Okay. All right, then no suggestion, I guess we'll follow it as it is. So please, let's proceed by introducing everybody else. I started with myself, so I see next on my screen, Isabel, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Isabel Herrera Taylor. I'm a part of the mayor's office. I run Global Lex, the Lexington Global Engagement Center, and I'm very happy to meet everyone.
Thank you, Isabel. Dr. Tuchai.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bassel Touchon. I'm a medical doctor by training from Syria. I'm the district ambassador for EL and refugee Arabic-speaking families with Fayette County Public Schools.
Thank you. The next I see it's Lizette.
Yes, good morning. My name is Lisette Natividad. I work for Fayette County Public Schools as well. I'm a family and community liaison, specifically supporting Mary Todd and Coventry Oaks for our Latino families. And I work in the equity department.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lizette. Next is Maria.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Maria Church. I work out of the Division of Emergency Management, and I am the Access and Functional Needs Coordinator for the Chemical Stockpile Emergency Preparedness Program at the Bluegrass Army Depot in Madison County.
Thank you, Maria. Lauren?
Good morning, I'm Lauren Case. I'm also with Fayette County Schools. I am in the Gifted and Talented department specifically, and I work with visual and performing arts identified students.
Okay, thank you very much. I see Mayor's office. Is there anybody I'm leaving out?
Hi, it's Melissa. I'm here helping to run the meeting, so if you guys have questions, just let me know. I'm listening.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Thank you, everyone. Melissa, please, if you please
Mr. Aqua, could we have whoever's on the phone identify themselves?
Okay, please, I'm sorry if there's any person with us who has not yet introduced themselves. Could we please do that now?
It's the 859 317-1572 phone number.
If you would introduce yourself, please. For the procedures, Isabel, do we leave them on without the introduction?
Yes.
Okay.
Innocent, this is Kalala.
Oh,
Can
hello,
everybody-
Dr. Kalala.
Okay.
Can everybody hear me now? I have problems with my computer this morning. That's why I cannot participate in using my computer. I joined by phone.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kalala. If you would please just introduce yourself to everyone there.
Yes, my name is Nkongolo Kalala. I am one of the co-chair of the MIAAC. I am a professor of economics at the Blue Cross Community and Technical College, and I represent Africa.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we'll move on now. Thank you everyone again for attending, and I should just say it up front, please forgive me of the habit. I would move from your first name. I may call you by your first name, and sometimes I may call you doctor by your last name if I know. Sometimes I'm not very sure which one is your first name or last name, but if I get that wrong, you please you forgive it. Let me ask for that permission up front. And thank you very much. Marisa, please could you post the agenda again so that we work on the agenda? Thank you very much. So we see our agenda that we have. We're done with the first point on the agenda, the introduction. And the second point on our agenda is recap of our last meetings. So this is the MIAAC Health Committee, and we had held a meeting on February the 9th and another meeting on the 25th. The meeting on the 25th was an extraordinary meeting that was born out of the meeting that held on the 9th. So this committee is in charge of picking up any public health concern in the county, and then discussing on how we can advise the mayor's office to help out with handling it. And being in a year of the pandemic, our first meeting dwelt a lot on the pandemic, and we discussed a number of things on the pandemic. I thought we should get this quick recap because maybe most of what we'll be doing today will be building out of that. So what we discussed in that first meeting, we did mostly, I can quickly run through it. We did our goals for this committee for the year, and some of the things that we pointed out that we needed to do, especially on the pandemic. We touched on the need for the health committee to work to ensure that immigrant community know who to call and where to go to sign up for vaccine and maybe testing. And we also discussed on the concerns of immigrant populations, maybe especially the special populations that may be small in number and do not have much influence. We thought these were more vulnerable and needed more help. So we also discussed on how we can reach these populations. And then we had also talked of the need to address some myths about the vaccine, where we have some groups in the immigrant community presenting reasons why they think they should not take the vaccine. We thought that would be a problem to the Lexington population as a whole, and we found a reason to address that. And then there was talk on from the, I think there was talk on working with the Lexington Health Department and the urban county to put out information there for the immigrant population about addressing the COVID situation, like working with Global X, preparing flyers and other outreach avenues to this immigrant population. And we also brainstormed on the possibility of attaining these goals. And we did conclude that it may not be possible to reach every population out there because there may be several of them. Some of them may be so small we don't even know. But we thought having that information out there is a good first step. So we thought having the information is important. We should have the information, put it out in the public, and our plan should be such that will not be useful only for now. It can also be used for the future. So that was mostly what we discussed concerning COVID in that first meeting. And then the second meeting was based mainly on the myths about the COVID. Dr. Tuchan generously accepted to work on that, and he did a very good job on that. He actually prepared some slides for us. He addressed the situation of the problem. He brought out the myths, what exactly they are, and suggestions on how we can address them. And part of that was working with Lexington, Fayette, Auburn County government, and even that is how the Children's Art Project came into this. We thought that could be a good avenue too of spreading information to increase knowledge and address of the COVID situation. So briefly, I think these are some of the things that we had discussed, most of them, and if I had missed out on anything that we think we need prior knowledge to before moving on to the next item on the agenda, I would please request for anyone here who attended any of the last two meetings to add that in now before we proceed. Thank you.
I think this is a good transition to Fayette County Public Schools participation. I believe everyone that is on this meeting was on the meeting of the 25th of February, and they had asked for time to discuss the Children's Art Project internally. So I think we can pass that on to Lauren, Lizette, and Basil, Dr. Tuchan, if you would like.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. Yes, Dr. Tuchan, I had indicated, I think that's what the email was about. If you would please handle this part in addressing the myths and the Children's Art Project. And before we get into all that, please, I just want to point out here, I mentioned that we would get updates on Children's Art Project with Fayette County Public School guests. And I mentioned Miss Case there. I know we have more than just Miss Case. I just mentioned Miss Case because there had been an indication because of other commitments. She cannot stay the full length of the meeting. So I put her name there for her to start before we continue. Okay, Dr. Tuchan, I will hand over to you now.
Or I can speak, Dr. Tuchan, if you're.
I think he's frozen.
Okay. I did email Ms. Case and Dr. Tuchan in regards to any updates. From my end, we're just waiting to hear the finalized project decisions. So we can share that information with Fayette County Public School. I'm specifically in this meeting so I can provide that information to our collaborative communication team. And once I share that information, they will be able to share it on Fayette County Public School social media. So on their Facebook, Instagram, wherever we can share that information. And if it's in multiple languages, they can share it that way too. I'm not sure if Dr. Tuchan wants to share anything, but he had mentioned that he can specifically work with his schools, is it Lansdowne? Lansdowne and Southern and Tates Creek High School. But he is concerned that we are running out of time. I believe we only have 15 days left until school ends. And then we will be starting our Summer Ignite program, which is on one session is in June and the other session is in July. And depending on how many of our ELL students will be attending, I'm not sure about the percentage. And on Ms. K's part, she's just waiting for the finalized decision so she can share all this information and push it out to all our art teachers and to her specific the GT students.
May I ask a question or a couple of questions so that I can see how Global Lex can support this effort? And as you know, the idea came from a national webinar that I watched on hesitancy in the immigrant community to test, to do the vaccine, et cetera. And so this project was apparently very successful with a city where the EL teachers and the art teachers moved the project forward, and they provided a prize for the first place winner of, I believe it was $250, which was significant. It was really a nice big prize. And then I thought, if we could do this here in Lexington, that we might do a prize also for the EL teachers or the winning art teacher for their contribution and collaboration. My question to you is, number one, I think another MIAAC commissioner questioned whether it was a good idea to have this be a competition in the first place. And my thoughts are that when I think back of when my children were young and they were doing art and I would have loved for them to have won a prize for their artwork, and I would have been bragging everywhere. And that's really what got the message across to a lot of community members, that with mothers sharing and parents sharing their children's accomplishment. And so I kind of wanted to get your impressions from people that are working with children today and parents today. Do you think it's a good idea, number one, to provide that that prize money to a child that wins the competition? We can get a lot of a little art committee to actually choose it, and so that it's outside of, so it's impartial, and we can get through, I think, with my colleague in the mayor's office, Heather Lyons, she can help me set up a little committee just to look at the artwork and say, yes, this is really powerful, which all artwork, I think, coming from children is just very special. So that would be very hard, number one, to pick. Number two, do you think it's a good idea to include teachers in this, whether they're art teachers or EL teachers? And if so, Fayette County Public Schools is so large. Do you think we should have more than one prize? I need to know, is this a small project that Fayette County Public Schools is envisioning with specific schools that sign up? Maybe 5 elementary schools sign up, maybe 2 middle schools, maybe 1 high school. I don't really know until we get the feedback. But so the prizes would be, I have a budget, and so I have to be very respectful of my budget. And so I am offering prizes, but I need to know, how many do we need? And what are your thoughts on these topics?
If I may add something here, I think that's the big point, honestly, because I'm sorry I had the here and I had to switch where I am and everything. So I'm not sure if I missed discussing that part or not, but Miss Case, Miss Natividad, and I emailed about it yesterday. And I think we're at a point, because like it was said, we only have 15 more school days left, where we need, like, if this is to happen, we need by the end of today's meeting to have actual details. Because right now it seems like Global Lex is looking for the school's support, the school is looking for Global Lex support. Like, there is a lot of opening from Fayette County to support this program. But in order to be able to advertise to the schools, see which schools are open to it, like, we need to have actual details of, like, this is how the contest will work, this is how the prizes are, so we can sign up people. Because we keep kind of being in the planning process and we're running out of school year to actually implement the program.
Okay, so I'm here to listen to your recommendations on the number of prizes, the number of I guess the number of schools, or if you even know that. But I can help out with how to pick it, how to coordinate that with the art community. And I can support with the prize money. But I do need your recommendations as to what you think would work in terms of designing this.
What I think, and Ms. Case is the expert here, obviously, so she can, since she worked with all the art teachers, I think if we have our own, like, this is kind of like the lesson plan that we will have. This is what the specifics of the flyers we're looking for. We're looking for flyers that are made from, like, these materials, that's this side, that address this topic. And every class, and we can provide some supplies to every classroom or every school that participate. And then probably every classroom would be easier to plan logistically. And then based on your budget, we can know how many classrooms we can have. And then we can reach out to those classrooms, to those art teachers, to the Gifted and Talented program. And this is what we're looking for. This would be a fun program for your classroom. This is an important topic, and you already have, like, we will provide all the supplies. And then there will be an incentive for the EL teacher for, like, I'd say, like, we don't have to start it as a contest to be mindful of those concerns about, like, competitiveness and whatnot. But I do agree that having that incentive, having that, because especially if we're actually going to use the flyer in, like, the vaccine outreach, then the, you know, like, the city, it's fair for the city or Global Lex or whichever organization to, like, provide kind of like a prize or a compensation to the winning, like, student and EL teacher. So we can say we'll have a committee that will pick, let's say, 2 or 3 like winning flyers that we will use. And then if your student's flyer is picked, then your student and the teacher in charge of that classroom will win an extra amount of money or something, again, based on the budget you have. And hopefully that would provide as an incentive for the art teacher to, like, sign up the classroom to do that. But I do think that those details, the amount of the prizes, the dates for when the committee will choose, like, these will have to be decided by end of meeting today, or, like, this will continue to be a thought that unfortunately will not be possible to implement.
Okay.
Right.
I think we can do it. I'd like to give Ms. Church a chance to speak up, and then Ms. Case, if you wouldn't mind holding.
Isabel, when you mentioned earlier about you recalling your children's art projects, it brought to mind something that Scott County Schools, actually it wasn't all of Scott County Schools, but it was the elementary schools that would have an annual art festival, and they would use a local gallery to display the artwork of the top selections from each class. And I mean, they did have prizes, but it had all of those honorable mentions. And so it became a very popular acknowledgement of everybody's work. And it brought in that partnership with that local business to be able to display. And I think they had the artwork displayed for a period of 2 to 3 weeks. It basically became something that the families could, walk by the windows of the facility and be able to view their children's artwork. And I thought it was a very good use of space and a very good, a good way to save some money, especially if you're, conscious of your budget. That acknowledgement also carried value.
I really like that idea. Lauren?
Well, I love that idea as well, because I think that's very important that families get to see their artwork and things like that. From my standpoint, I guess the parameters that we want is the biggest thing. Kind of what Dr. Tuchan was saying about, what size do we want their initial flyer to be? Can they do it on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper? If you don't give that, you're going to have kids that go out and like make an entire poster board, and ones that use a scrap of paper this big. So the more specific you can be, the better it's going to be for students to actually follow through, finalize, and create something. I also, one idea that I have as well, since we're trying to reach so many different cultural groups and languages, if there's maybe, narrow it down to as little as like one particular phrase and wording, or, 2 or 3 that students could choose from, just from a translation standpoint, to then be very easily translated quickly and without, taking away from what the student was trying to say or represent. They're almost given the words to say, and then the artwork is their visual representation. But then that way, you all know who can translate into what languages and what's easy to say. And I defer to, that's your all's expertise. Saying things through art and movement and performing is my thing. So, but I think any of those kind of specifics are going to be helpful. I think the greatest thing right now is to determine if we're doing it like this school year, or if we want to push this into those summer Ignite programs. I have heard that a lot of the summer school programs, that our Fayette County summer school programming is called Ignite, which is why we keep saying the summer Ignite program. That's just the fancy title that we've given it this summer. Many schools, I believe, are trying to do some sort of either arts focus or weaving the arts into what they're doing, which that gives us actually a little bit more time to prep and plan and push that out. And I'm happy then to connect with the GT teachers at the school levels and the art teachers, just to find out, who's doing any kind of art activities in this, and would you be willing to work on a project such as this? And then we can kind of go from there with what schools want to sign up. My concern about trying to do it this school year is that we literally only have 2 full weeks. So yes, there's like 14 days of school left, but there's really only about 10. The Monday and Tuesday that are our last 2 days of school, classes are going to be doing parties, field days, those types of activities. It's obviously Thursday of this week. Next week is state testing. So classrooms are really focused on that. And because of that, many elementary schools specifically, they may be finished seeing their art teacher for the year, or at most may see that art teacher 2 more times. The likelihood is that they'll see them once in the next 14-ish days. So I think having the art teachers in on this, may not get a lot of participation here at the end of the year just because of that standpoint, but many of them may be working the June or July sessions for their summer programming. And that might, or we can target classroom teachers who would really enjoy this opportunity as something to do in the afternoons after testing and to wrap up the end of the school year. And then, you know, middle and high school schedules run differently. They're not on this elementary school area rotations. Those art teachers are going to see their students more possibly every day over the next 14 days. So I know that's a ton of information to have just thrown out there. But I think those are some of the really important things to think about as far as timing.
Another suggestion also would be sharing this information. We can share it with our Fayette County Public Schools Family Resource Center, and they're able to target more of our migrant students that they work with and service. So on my department, we can email all of them, share that information, and specifically target our students that in our population that we want.
Mr. Aqua, may I respond insofar as Global X concerns are?
Yes, please.
All right. So I very much agree with Lauren that it is too quick and too intense for this time period for Fayette County Public Schools participation. What we're dealing with in the pandemic from the mayor's office standpoint, from Global X standpoint, and trying to translate all of the critical information, we really, and I've heard several of the doctors and health department people describe it this way. It's almost like walking on quicksand. The situation is not stable with the pandemic. We're hoping the best, but this effort to, I would plead with everyone to keep in mind that this is a project specifically targeting the language groups that don't have the broad community support within their own language group. That maybe the Arabic speaking, the Spanish speaking, I want it to include everyone, including our English speaking parents. But please keep in mind that my personal concern and our Global X concern is with the languages of lesser diffusion. So when we're talking about translations, we don't even have translations for the 96 different languages that we're dealing with. And we can't hope to reach every single language group when we have, for instance, Swedish, we have one family that I'm aware of, or Urdu, we might have one or two families. However, we can reach out to the groups that may have daily contact with these families. And that's the EL teachers at the very beginner part, where if the child doesn't speak English, probably the parent doesn't either. And so how do the EL teachers communicate with that family? Whatever you have in place, we don't want to redesign the translation and interpretation parts. This may be something that maybe the child with as much English as they've learned, they're able to interpret that for their family. That's our hope. And so what we worry about, and we've spoken a lot about, is that messaging. And so each language group may have a different misinformation strategy that we need to think about. And Dr. Kalala, for instance, might tell us in the African diaspora, we have dozens of languages, but there may be a more, they may need to tell us what is the message that would most resonate. Is it asking the question, why vaccinate, and then just put bullet points on whether it's church or school or friends or, sharing music, sharing whatever. The message, the let's vaccinate message is the most important. And it's basically to get a discussion going in the community. The other important message, the bottom line is let's vaccinate for the love of our community. But secondly, where? How do we get that information? And so one of the things that this committee has talked about is that where to find multilingual information. And the best we could come up with is the health department's 859-899-2222 number, which has multilingual interpretation, but doesn't work. We need to test it over and over to make sure that our families are going to a source that really is going to respond to them multilingually, so that if they speak Urdu, they can call that number and say Urdu please or something. So like I said, the messaging has to be, why is the testing and vaccine necessary to me, to my family? And where do I find where to go and how to get it? I don't know that we also need to say testing and vaccines are free. But so reducing that to something that can be put on an 8x10 painting would be a very creative thing to do. And so we may need a little more time and a little more input from the people that are going to be receiving this information. So it's not only the EL teachers, but it's also the parents. Do we have their excitement? We have their have we engaged them? So from the Global X standpoint, I think Dr. Touchon's recommendation for 2 or 3 prizes is I think the least that we should be doing. And I also would like to offer, so it would be maybe the $200 prize for the winning child or children, and the $100 prize for the teachers, whether it's EL teacher or art teacher, or even whoever works with them, whoever you recommend is working with them. I don't want to just limit it to, it's really the people that are liaising with them. Is it a frisk? Is it an ambassador for their community? Who is it that has made the connection work? So the gallery, I think, is a beautiful idea. And I would like to offer the Global X gallery, but it may not be where it needs to be for everyone to access it. So I would want to copy everyone's art project and put it in the different libraries that are in addition, and maybe copy it and put it in the schools where the children come, and maybe the hallways, and say winning, and then the honorable mentions, and then, so I wouldn't limit it to one gallery, although, Global X, you can see in the background, that's a picture of our gallery. It's tiny, but we can make it really nice. We can even have a little mini reception. My main question is, are Fayette County Public Schools virtual still? Do we need to do this virtually? Do we need to do a hybrid of virtual and in person? That's up to you all. We don't know what the situation is day to day at the public schools. So that's a decision that needs to come from Fayette County Public Schools. And I would recommend, like I said, the 8x10 to make it easier, faster, and that's what I saw in in the webinar where they were showing us the artwork, it was pretty small. We can blow it up maybe, and maybe have one of the printing companies blow up some things in a poster size, but that would be for later, decisions to be taken later. We do want to celebrate the children's efforts, so I'm all for doing honorable mentions. And another decision that I think that Fayette County Public School personnel might want to take internally is, do you want to make this a prize for elementary, and then a second prize for middle school, and then a third prize for high schools? Because they really are in different stages of development, et cetera. And it's not fair to have a high school student competing with a kindergartner. So that also would be my recommendation, but I want that to be y'all's decision. Let's see. So we can keep on working in this committee, I think, with recommended messaging, and just to tell the teachers, this is what we need to say, and see how the parents they deal with might respond to it. What are their recommendations? You know, how do we narrow that down so it's significant and meaningful to the people that are receiving it? So we do have, at Global X, we have contact with a lot of parents in a lot of different language groups. But again, the languages of lesser diffusion, we don't. And that's why we need the EL teachers to give us that, to bridge that connection. And like Mr. Aqua was saying, how many of the participants would be willing to stay on board as community bridges? And that's a question for the sustainability of this critical information getting to some language groups that are in more information isolation. Does that make sense? If we could engage people, get them excited, maybe they would agree to stay on as liaisons for either the commission or for Global X or the mayor's office. Because we're not out of this. There is a lot of information that we should be providing the EL teachers or others in terms of, there's rent assistance, there's food assistance, there's, you know, we're all working in silos. And if we can coordinate that information, that critical information, we're still not out of this. And I think that it's testing all of our resources. It's testing all of our creativity to collaborate. So I want to really thank you all. And Lauren, I understand that you're on very short time. Time is one of the most precious things that we can give to our communities. So everybody on down from Innocent Aqua on down to my colleagues at Global X, I really, really appreciate everyone's time. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Taylor. And Dr. Tuchan, you have anything else?
A few points, honestly, like Ms. Taylor raised so many great points about the program. I think we can focus the flyers in the project on having the kids express themselves through the art. So something like paint, like what life was pre-COVID, or paint, what are you most looking forward to in a post-COVID life, or like we take the vaccine, we take all those COVID precautions so we can get to kind of like the same, I'm taking the vaccine for the campaign from the city. And then like we can have that in putting it in kind of like a gallery is great. We can have kind of like an art exhibit of children expressing what they're most looking forward to in a post-COVID life, or like why we take the vaccines, and then have that move between like different public libraries, the global Lex, like different location partners, the art hop, the next art hop or something like that. And then if we want to use that in a flyer, then we can use the artwork in a flyer template that the city or global Lex or something can add that important, the vaccine is free. Here's where you sign up for the vaccine. So we don't have to put the burden or like translating this, having like a specific sentence and put that burden on the child. Let the child worry about the artwork part. And then if we use that in a flyer, we'll handle that part. That's my thought. But like I have to circle back again to the timeline, because this is a great project. But when we talk about all those like partnerships, all those like internal discussions on Fayette County Public Schools, like I feel if Fayette County Public School teachers are to be part of this during the school year, which, to answer your question, right now, we have in-person students are fully in-person, virtual students are fully virtual. So there are a certain number of students that opted to stay virtual, but then the students who went back to in-person, they're in-person all the time. Obviously, coordinating will probably be easier with in-person students, but that can be left up to the teacher. But if that's to happen in the school year, I feel like by end of the day, an email need to go out to the teachers saying, this is the program, this is what will happen, this is the date, we'll need those flyer by, and this is what like you'll win. That by the time those internal discussions end, the school year will be over. Unless this is something we're not doing, if we need more input from like parents, partners, other people, then this project will have to shift toward Summer Ignite, which the first session will be June 8th to 25th. Every school has a coordinator in Summer Ignite, and then like the reaching out part will have to go toward the coordinator of Summer Ignite that, hey, we have this program on a Lexington level, and if you'd want to add that in your program during Summer Ignite, that can work. But when we talk about our goal is to reach out families with less common languages, those families are going to be less likely to sign up for Summer Ignite, to be honest.
Dr. Tushon, before Lauren leaves, I think we need to decide real quickly, and I think that deciding on the Ignite summer program is the sensible thing to do. I would ask if it's at all possible, like Dr. Tushon right now said, that group of EL parents, if we can communicate with them before school ends, that their child is invited to participate in a program, an art program, and give them the information as to who to contact, because they may lose that if they're not available, if the EL teachers are not available, etc. Is it possible to inform the EL parents that there is?
So Isabel, on my end, I can provide this information to our communication team. And what we could do is specifically target those groups and send out a voice robocall or a voice message to those specific families, informing them about this project. And we can also email them if they have email. Most of our families probably don't have an email, but at least if we were able to send like our top whatever languages we want, and if we're able to get a translator to do that message as well on our end, we're able to do that. And I just have to provide that information to my team, and I'll work with them to be able to, whenever we're ready, to send that voice message. I even have the access to send it in Spanish, so I can pick whatever school we want and specifically pick our top languages or whichever languages we want to target.
Okay, if I may contribute a little. So thank you all so very much. What I have gathered so far, we see Isabel has indicated Global Lex is interested and putting up this prizes. And we are seeing it's not probably not feasible for the remaining part of the school year and defaulting to Summer Ignite. So the question I was going to ask, I think we've also indicated the need of target languages of lesser diffusion. The question I was going to ask is the Summer Ignite, what I've read from my children's school, it's divided up into parts. I think it will not be the entire school like we have now. So there will be a first session and a second session. So are we targeting a particular session, or will these children be able to walk through different sessions of the Summer Ignite if we are carrying this on?
I think we'll just have to accept the fact we can't reach everyone, because the vaccinating people, like, time is of the essence. So yes, families can opt to sign up for both sessions, and then some families are picking one session only. Some schools, I know some schools just like sent a link for parents to sign up if they're interested. Some other schools took more of a hands-on approach, where they actually invited specific students and put like students list of like one invited session 2. But session 1 will be 8th to the 25th. Session 2 will be July 6th to the 23rd. And since we want people to be vaccinated as soon as possible, I feel like, sure, we can do it both sessions, but like session 1 will need to be included. If families are only going to be attending session 2, unfortunately, they'll miss on the program. But again, we can't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Like, if this program will happen, it needs to like actually start happening. We can't keep wishing for a way where we can target everyone, because like we talked before, like, we're not going to be able to target everyone. It's just about being mindful, being purposeful in reaching out to the schools that have those students that we're looking to target, and then having those prizes and incentives hopefully will incentivize school staff to really like strongly advertise the program, and we'll have to go from there. That's my opinion.
Let me ask if you think that we should do it in both sessions, we can reduce the prize money to 100 rather than 250 for the children. So that would be 300 per session. And then the $100 prize for the teachers or the liaisons. And I also want to say that we can continue communicating via email as long as we all inform each other. If we can come up with some messaging, if we can come up with more concrete ideas, let's keep this going. Even, we have more to do in the committee, but since we have some people that may have to drop off, I wanted to extend that invitation to just let's keep on communicating through email, and or anyone can call if you want us to do anything in particular.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I know it's 10 a.m. and Ms. Case may have to leave. So just like Isabella said, maybe we round this up. It's unfortunate that the summer is almost at hand, and by the time our next health committee meeting is scheduled, it may be late to still come back to this because the summer session will have kicked off. So like Isabella has said, can we say we agree that you all, Ms. Case, Dr. Tuchan, Natividad, you continue working with Isabel or the council on this and make it happen the best it can?
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. This is Victoria with Anthem Medicaid. I'm our outreach manager, and I was just wondering, maybe a thought is, is there a sponsor opportunity for this summer program? Maybe Anthem could help support.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think it could be much more attractive
Okay.
if we have a sponsor. So
I don't know if any
Victoria,
of you all are familiar with Sandra Powell, but she sent me
yes.
the invite to the meeting. So I definitely wanted to join in. So thank you guys for keeping me informed about what's going on and letting me participate today. But I definitely, if there's something that we can do to help support, I know you were talking about, you know, the program, the prizes and stuff, and making sure all of that's ready by the next meeting. I'm happy to talk with you guys about what those opportunities will look like.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. So we see it's even getting more interesting because we're having offers for sponsorship. So it can actually be better than we've been envisaging or we've been hoping for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So do we have an agreement on how to work on to have this happen during the Summer Ignite? Let's conclude it before we start losing.
Yeah, I think the major point will be that we'll have to have an actual like 1, 2, 3. This is what needs to happen. So not like side waiting on the other. I think that now that we know what the program will look like, probably Fayette County will be looking for a formal draft of what the program would look like. If any input from any of like anyone from the Fayette County side or people we work with would be happy to provide it. But hopefully if we have a draft of this, what the contest will be, then we can connect with the coordinators of the Summer Ignite program. We can, I can have the EL department send the same information to all the EL teachers so they can emphasize that point to their students too. And then we can reach out to the coordinators and make the program happen. But the next step will be moving from this is an idea we have to this is the program, this is what we're asking for the artwork to be, this is the dates we want them by, this is where this is the amount of the prize, and we'll have to make the concrete. Because right now every side is like, yes, I'm very interested, but
The implementation plan has to be in place.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to request from everyone, and I'll let Lauren know also that I requested this, is anyone that has a good description in mind, please send it to me. Basil, you had something earlier that where you were really describing how to get the children excited about it. I love that. I love that description. And so, you know, I can fill in once I speak to Victoria, maybe separately through our exchange of phone numbers. We can decide on prizes for you know, per school or per elementary, middle, high school, or whatever, so that we can combine forces and make this a stronger element. And then my suggestion, and either Dr. Kalala or Mr. Aqua can decide if this is a good idea or not. But I would suggest maybe when school is over, let's meet one more time early I don't know when your school is actually over for this semester, but when would be a convenient time for everyone to get together once we have the description, once we have the amounts of prizes and types of prizes, and once we've discussed a little further within the committee, the vaccine and messaging, then we can come back and just move it forward. So those action steps would really be, one, get the description nailed down for Fayette County Public Schools. Number two, Victoria and I decide how we can best support this with prizes and et cetera. And then number three, the messaging, right? So once we have those three action steps, I think we're good to go.
Okay. Okay, please, Isabel, if I may ask, you say the meeting, will this be to round up launching the project, or it will be rounding up after the project is finishing up?
I would say to start it, don't you think?
Okay.
Just to
Okay.
make sure everyone's on the same page and that we have, by then, I hope that we have more information on which schools or which EL teachers or which art teachers, or Lizette might have more idea of which risks are available.
Yes. The only thing is that my last contract day ends May the 26th.
So we need to
So,
make it before then.
but I can be in touch with you. I'll probably send you my personal email. I'm not sure what's gonna happen after my contract day. I have no idea. They might give me another year, or it's, undecided right now. But I can leave somebody in my department. I can let them know or leave somebody in charge and
Okay.
to keep in touch with you guys. And
That
I
would be great.
can also do that on my end, like volunteer and then be in touch with my department. I don't have a problem with that.
Dr. Tushon, what do you think? Should we have it before the 26th? Should we have it June 1 or what?
I'm flexible, honestly. Like the last day of school is May 18th, so it's probably going to be a very busy time for everyone at Fayette County Public Schools until May 18th. But as long as it's after May 18th, like I'd say a little bit before June 1st, just because Summer Ignite is June 8th. So if we're launching it in Summer Ignite, hopefully by the next meeting, we already have the draft of the program, what it looks like. The invites have been sent, and then we know who's on board and everything, and we can finalize the details. So we'll have to give plenty of time for that to happen, but then also be mindful that we need to meet before June 8th for sure.
And I'm also gonna ask our EL department to provide data information on our top schools that have the percentage of our most migrant students. So I'll try to get that data for our next meeting, so we can actually focus on those schools.
Thank
Can
you
I
very much. That would be
suggest May
helpful.
21st is a Friday? Is that, do you think, doable?
May 21st, let me see.
And is this a good time? 10 a.m., 11 a.m., I don't know.
Works for me.
Okay. May 21st is fine for me. I'm available. Okay. So maybe we agree on May 21st. Then Dr. Kalala is still there?
I think he's,
Okay. So
I'm still there.
okay.
I'm still there.
So
Yeah.
we are talking about having that extraordinary meeting on May the 21st. So holding on May the 21st then will mean that whoever is coming up with suggestions on how this should look like would have worked with Global X or with Isabel, then the information will be available on that May 21st
yes.
for us to look at. May 21st, okay with you, Dr. Kalala?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we hear
Yes.
you.
I didn't follow the question you were asking.
Yes, whether people are available May 21, either 10 or 11 a.m.
10 a.m. is fine with me because I'll be overseas.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. for
10
me
a.m.
too.
is fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all righty.
Okay. All right, so we agree. We'll meet again May 21st. I will put that out after this meeting today.
And it will be specifically for the Children's Art
The
Project,
Children's
nothing
Art
else.
Projects.
Right.
May 21st, extraordinary meeting for Children's Art Project.
That's it.
Okay, thank you all so very much. I think we have exhausted this item on the art project. Anybody has anything else to round it up If not, we would consider it covered. Any addition? No, okay. Thank you very much. Thank everybody very much for your very rich contributions on this item. So we'll move on with the meeting. For the art project was part of the pandemic plan of action. So we see from our previous meetings, we had suggested a few things on the pandemic plan of action. So what else can we discuss on the pandemic plan of action? We know a number of things that have been brought up about immigrant populations accessing this. So now is the time to come up with all those and see what more we can contribute to move it forward.
Mr. Aqua, I think we had talked about recording, multilingual recordings,
Okay.
and we needed to discuss who was willing to record. We need to recruit recorders. We need to speak about the delivery methods, whether it's WhatsApp, Facebook, other media.
Okay.
We were going to ask commissioners and committee members to recruit participants, and it would be wonderful to have the people that have been helping us with this project to also come on board.
Okay.
I can check and see if Sandra may be interested in joining for that part, for the multilingual recordings, because she is a state interpreter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that one. So the multilingual recording.
And again, we're still focusing, or at least Global X is really focusing a lot on those languages of lesser diffusion. So just reaching out to people that might speak 5 languages and might have Shiluba, Urdu, Punjabi, just to get more communities that have not been reached with the top 10 languages or so.
Do you want to create kind of like a shareable list of the languages you're looking for, and then hopefully each one of us can spread that out, kind of like when they did the translations for the governor's daily press conferences? At the time, they had a list of languages, and then people would go and sign up, add their names and emails.
Honestly, I would just send out the Fayette County Public Schools language list, and then people can look at, you've got 96 languages or more that are there, and we do have, we do have Swahili speakers, we do have Spanish speakers, we do have French speakers, we do have Arabic speakers. What we might highlight and just, either highlight with a magic marker and just send it out. And then people will recognize that, oh, we need someone that speaks Lingala. We need someone that speaks Kinyarwanda, etc.
I know, but
do you think that would work?
It would, but that's why I suggest, I feel if we have an actual interactive kind of like Google Doc document, because if people recognize that, yes, we need Lingala, okay, then what do we do now? But if there's a master list of languages that when we share with other people and they go and look and it's like, okay, like Lingala, there's no one right now who's signed up to do this for Lingala, and I know Lingala speakers, then they can go there, add their name, email, and then the person in charge of the master list can go and see, oh, we have a person who signed up for this language, let me shoot them an email and set the time to record the message.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that it would work really well. Global X can make that master list, and we would have it there with the spreadsheet. But we're not going to limit. If we get 12 people that sign up for Urdu, we would love to have 12 people sign up for Urdu, and reach out to their communities, because it wouldn't be just recording it, it would be also helping us to distribute it to that community. So we'll get a Google Doc going so that everyone is able, that is on this committee, is able to enter it and see what is happening, and so that we can all contribute to if we receive either an applicant or a suggestion from community members, that we can always add it once it's confirmed.
Okay.
So we would need emails and phone numbers, basically, and the language, the email, and the phone number.
Language, email, and phone number. Isabel, where do you say this master list will be available at?
Global X, and we'll do a Google Doc so that it's available to all of the committees, the outreach committee, the executive committee, just everyone, because I think that this is something that the Mayor's International Affairs Commission can sustain, and it's part of all of our projects in the ambassadors program, the outreach committee, the international business development. And I think it touches each and every one. The immigration committee would have access to it, just so that we are connecting more with our language groups of lesser diffusion, that are in more isolation. I think that this is a very productive process that we're entering into.
All right, that's good. Like, we're talking about this now. Last time we said we could wait till this meeting because we thought it was not very pressing at that time, and we were out of time then. So now I think we are right in the midst of it, because the rationing of vaccines seems to have greatly reduced. And now a few times I've heard there've been days that we have more vaccines, that we have people coming up for it. And it seems in Lexington or Fayette, the number of people coming up for vaccines seems to have reduced. So we are already in the midst of it, and we don't have much time to wait. So can we agree on timelines for this suggestions, so that we make sure that we have it out there to the immigrant communities as soon as possible, so that we motivate them to keep coming up for the vaccines?
Rania, speak up if you want to, but I'm going to maybe agree to being given a week to get a Google Doc going. I think Mihir can help us with that, to have a spreadsheet where we have all of the languages that we need and kind of in the format that the Fayette County Public Schools sends it to us biannually, where they have the language, and then next to it we would have space for community members that speak that language to sign up, and we would have the name, the phone number, the email, signing up. Do you think that's doable in a week?
It depends. Is Mahir, I don't know if now he's having exams or.
Right, but we can find someone to help us with that. I think I think Yolanda and our other interns can help us with that.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's say this, Global X staff will try to get this by next Friday.
Okay, thanks very much, Isabel.
If we get it up any earlier, we'll send it out.
Yeah, I think that is very closely specific. So we see Isabel is promising that within 1 week we can get the Google Doc spreadsheet.
Within 1 week, we're promising to try.
Yes, yeah. At least I think that's useful. We also talked about committee members try to identify the leaders of various communities, because we said these people, they'll believe it more when they hear it from people that they recognize, from people that they know. So can we also have timeline for community members to at least supply names of people in different immigrant communities that they think we can direct some of this information to, for them to spread it onto their communities? So that we write it out there, maybe in our minutes, so that the committee members read it, then we know they have an assignment to make out leaders of various groups in their communities. Definitely, it should be before the next meeting.
Dr. Kalala, I think we said commissioners and committee members so that we can include more people to recruit participants from smaller language groups.
Dr. Kalala, we can't see, since we can't see you, if you're talking, then we can't hear you. It may be because you're muted. Okay.
Dr. Kalala, we can't hear you.
Okay. Yeah,
Maybe
I
having
think
trouble with
he's a little handicapped with
Yeah.
joining in.
But we can get back with him
Okay.
on that.
So can we say we include that in the minutes and then task committee members and that's the health committee members and the commissioners to contact individuals in their groups or leaders of groups in their communities. Maybe within the next 2 weeks, we can say within the next 2 weeks to 3 weeks. And if possible, supply names to Isabel, since we're doing this list. It's a suggestion.
I don't think
Can you
he'll
hear
have
me?
a problem with that. Yes.
Okay. Because I can hear you all, but sometimes for some reason I become muted. I don't know why, but
Yeah, we hear you now.
okay. But did you hear me before?
No.
Okay.
So we were asking for timeline for committee members and commissioners to possibly come up with names of leaders of groups in their communities, so that when we're coming up with information, we can direct it to them for them to spread it onto their to the groups in their community. And we ask for suggestions.
So what kind of timeline did you come up with?
I was suggesting that we put it out there in the minutes. Since we don't have members attending, we put it out in the minutes that within the next 3 weeks, for any committee and committee member and commissioner who can come up with any names of leaders in their groups. It could be church groups, it could be their immigrant group leaders. Maybe provide us with names so that we are working with specific persons rather than just assuming that we are reaching a community.
Yeah, I believe 3 weeks is long enough, which will take us toward the 21st of May. Should take us around 21st of May.
Okay, if we're suggesting 3 weeks, do we start supplying names, perhaps names with phone numbers and emails? Where do we supply these names to?
I think we can go ahead and take those names. If the commissioners know people that speak other languages that are willing to take a look at that Google spreadsheet and see what languages, I think it pairs up with looking at our language list and trying to come up with, 5 or 6 people that speak 5 or 6 languages from that list. I think if we give them a specific job, that it might be easier for them. Even if they only come up with one language of that's harder, that would be wonderful.
We're starting. That makes a lot of sense. It can actually work together side by side. Thank you, Isabel. Okay, I think there was also an assignment for us to contact the group of that put out the Let's Do It. Is that something that we still need to do something on?
I think that's the mayor's office that is doing the Let's Do, but I'll find out exactly who's worked on it. I think it's a campaign, citywide campaign. Is that what you meant, Mr. Aqua?
Yes, the citywide campaign.
Yeah. We have all of that information available and we can send that back out. We usually send those out through the Global X news items that are coming from Yolanda Pinilla, so we can resend.
Okay. I think what Mr. Aqua was referencing in our last meeting, like that campaign was brought up and we weren't sure who was in charge of it. So we were going to look into it now that we know it's the mayor's office. That's what you mean, Mr. Aqua, correct? Like
that's correct. That's correct. Yeah, I think we said we're going to find out and then work with that group to see if we could use that information too, because we say it was a good caption.
Yeah. You are working with that group. Both Melissa and myself are in the mayor's office, and so yes, we get all that information for you.
All right. Okay, thanks. Thanks very much. I seem to have almost run out here. Anybody has any other suggestions on of ideas that can get the vaccine project moving for the immigrant community? Yes, Dr. Tucci.
Yeah, I do have one actually, which I know we briefly talked about in the past. Now that we're at that phase of the vaccination process where people's like signing up for appointments and whatnot, unfortunately started going down, and we see more of programs like the one where there was a partnership with Fayette County Public Schools, where last Tuesday there were vaccination sites in all 6 high schools or like in the public libraries and stuff like that. I feel that part of our mission as a committee targeting international communities would be making recommendations to the mayor's office about specific locations where they can hopefully host pop-up vaccination sites that would target certain populations. So if we're trying to target the Swahili-speaking community or like the Urdu-speaking community or the Arabic-speaking communities, if there could possibly be an opportunity to hold something like those vaccination clinics where you don't need an appointment, because in my experience, that's the biggest challenge for people who do want the vaccine but are not getting the vaccine because it's difficult to sign up for an appointment and everything. And where we go toward them, just like the high school thing, and you can just do a walk-in, get your vaccination, and like walk out.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that is a very good idea. And also, if we something like that, we could tie it together with these people that we say we should look for that can put out this information. Then perhaps it could also be the same people who could know if certain immigrant communities live in particular sections of the city. Then it could be something that if we have that kind of power to influence that, then we can also communicate it with them to inform their community that on this day, vaccines will be available in this location, in their neighborhood.
Correct. Like for example, the families I work with, I have about 55 Arabic-speaking students at Lansdowne Elementary. I'd say more than 95% of them live at the same apartment complex because it's government subsidized near Kirk-Levington Park. And assuming 2 parents only, and like we know, immigrant families sometimes will live with grandma and grandpa and other people too. If we have a pop-up vaccination site at Kirk-Levington Park, for example, and we do kind of like a push of informing that specific population, I think that would be very successful to vaccinate that population. Then when we're talking families of like African backgrounds, I know there's a lot around like Tate's Creek, the Gainesway, Center Parkway area, like different backgrounds in different locations. I think if we can create kind of the same like list of recommended sites per background and submit that either the mayor's office or the health department, recommending that based on our knowledge, we think if you have a pop-up site there, that would be beneficial for this group.
What I can do is speak with both the mayor's office and the health department and the emergency operations center. All of them get together to look at different areas of the city, different minority groups, different factors that go in. Is it accessible walking? Is it accessible to a large enough group so that the vaccine effort to take the vaccine, and because you don't want to be left with hundreds of vaccines when you only have 50 people show up. So it is taken into account, and we're always open to those recommendations from the community. So please send those in. Those will get sent to the appropriate entities that are all collaborating to make the wisest decisions. And it's an ongoing process. So maybe if it doesn't happen this month, it's still on the list to happen maybe in June or July or August, but it's there. The information is there. And so please send that information to me, and keep it coming, because you may realize, okay, through feedback from the community, they may say, well, that's not really as convenient as X, and so keep that information coming, and it's very appropriate to be making those recommendations. It's very necessary to the success of getting everyone vaccinated. So the door is very wide open for that.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much. And I think I would want to conclude on the vaccine plan of action now, and we'll move on to this. And if we all agree, we have actually already looked at the matters arising from minutes of previous meetings. So any other matter that we touched on previous meeting? If not, we'll try to look at the remaining items and round up the meeting.
Just that we're asking for assistance from different civic groups and faith leaders, in addition to Kentucky Refugee Ministries and Fayette County Public Schools. Don't leave anyone out. If you know of civic groups that we might not be familiar with, please let us communicate with them. I think, Mr. Akwe, that you had mentioned someone from Cameroon.
Yes.
If we could make contact with all of those people, it would be very beneficial.
Yeah, and since we will be sending names in to you too, we can send the names, the proposed names to you. So like for me, I will inform the individual in my community and then let them know that I'll be providing their name to the city council. Okay, thanks very much. The next item on the agenda is the executive committee meeting of May the 7th. I know the co-chairs had put out an email notifying us of executive committee meeting on May the 7th, and my idea of putting this an item on the agenda was for us to agree on agree on our committee being represented in that meeting. I was going to ask if some people could opt to be present in that meeting for us, but since I'm the only one available here, I'm the only committee member available. So that seems to fall back on me, but I hope everybody else will read that invitation, and I hope we can get more than just myself showing up to that meeting on the 7th.
Are you all sending out meeting information on that after this, on how to connect to it, the executive committee meeting?
Victoria, make sure that you send us your email address.
Okay, I put it in the chat, but I can email it to you.
I
as
hadn't
well.
seen that. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I'm happy to join in for that as well.
Okay, yes, I think the co-chairs will be sending out a link for that meeting, a link for that Zoom meeting when we get closer to that date.
Thank you.
Am I right, Dr. Kalala? Dr. Kalala, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we do hear you. Okay. So Victoria, she just asked if we'll be sending out information about the executive committee meeting that will be coming up on May the 7th.
All of the meetings of the MIAAC are
Public.
Are announced. Yes, they're all public, and they're all announced through Melissa McCart-Smith, and so and I also send out the links and the information on our all of our lists. So Victoria will put you on it. We'll put everyone on it that wants to be on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I think that point is handled. For other matters, anything out of what we've discussed so far, anybody has anything that you would want us, that you think it touches on this committee that you would want us to discuss? Now is the time.
Just the report, if there's anything that anyone wants to include on the committee's report to the executives, to the co-chairs.
Okay. Did you say anything that we want to contribute to that executive committee meeting? Isabel, I did not quite follow what you're requesting.
The committees are required to send in a report, a brief report of their work. And so maybe some of the action steps that from the minutes of this meeting could be reported in that report. You have a report already going, so it can be reduced. And you and I can, if you want to talk about it afterwards or when you're available before the executive meeting. Dr. Kalala, when are you and Diana wanting those reports? I forget what your date was.
Usually we want it at least 2 days before the executive committee meeting. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least 2 days, I believe, in advance, so that you can review it, and then before we bring it to the committee, to the executive committee.
So by the 5th?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. You're talking about this meeting that we are about rounding up now, is that right?
About adding the information from this meeting, yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry I did not say it at the beginning, but I think that was just an assumption at my end. I did see there that Melissa was already recording it, which I was going to ask for, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Melissa. And in the past, Isabel, I know you've been helping us with taking down those minutes and providing that draft. I assumed you did the same for this meeting.
I'm using the template that Diana Queen requested, and so it will basically be in that format, just leaving it to the action steps that have been decided.
All right. Yeah, I think that will be very helpful. I know last time I did mention that I was going to read your minutes of that extraordinary meeting and condense it. But I had not yet seen the draft that you had sent to me. When I saw it, I saw that you had written it out beautifully, and I did not think I needed to do anything with it anymore. So when you present it that way, I think it still does capture a lot on the meeting. And thank you. I appreciate you for that.
Welcome.
Any other matter, please? If we don't have any other matter to discuss, I would suggest, I will propose that somebody move for this meeting to adjourn.
I so move.
Okay. Thank you very much.
A second.
Thank you, Dr. Kalala, and thank you all. Thank everybody for attending. We are adjourned.